Bam. Bam. How are you tonight? It is Thursday, September 29th, 2022. I'm John Shank of Deerwood Realty. I'm the founder and managing broker. Well, what is Deerwood Realty? Well, we're the smallest of small real estate brokerages in St. Louis. We help buyers buy homes and sellers sell theirs. It's just me now. It's literally just one person. And so, yeah, that's what I do during the day. At night, I like to stream like I'm doing right now. What do we stream about? Well, popular culture. Love pop culture. As much as I can understand of it, as I get older, it's a little bit more difficult to follow. We talk about real estate trends. We talk about real estate news. Anything else you want to talk about? Really? I mean, we got all the time in the world. We got all the space. There's not a million people beating down our door to chat. I mean, so if you have any questions, concerns, news articles, put them in the chat. Let's look at them. Let's see what's going on. I have streamed now for a couple days in a row, which is what I've wanted to do. But, as you know, I was sick a little while ago. So it's been kind of like all that streaming was kind of like building up. And so tonight I'm a little bit concerned that I'll not have a very full show. I've got plenty of information, plenty of stuff to talk about, but my throat is a little bit off, and I'm worried it's not going to hold up. As you all know, I'm heading out to Slovenia, Croatia, and Bosnia starting on the 2nd, and I'm trying to be healthy for that trip. But I just can't seem to shake this pneumonia. So anyway, let me tell you something about being a real estate agent, a real estate broker. I don't know that I'm proud of it, but I think getting it out might be a good thing. So I wrote an article one time and I wrote a blog about hyper-possessive real estate agents do their clients no favors. And it was about a friend of a friend. It was a family member, and somebody bought a house and they didn't use this family member, and the family member was all bent out of shape about it and wanted to, cause a big scene and be a jerk about it. And at the time I was like, they didn't pick you for a reason. Maybe they forgot you're a real estate agent. Maybe they don't think you're a very good real estate agent, but it is a referendum on you. And while it may be hurtful, it's happened to us all. It's happened to us all. We've all lost deals for the dumbest of reasons. And unfortunately, real estate is a game of failure, much like baseball, much more failure than success. For all the 10 people, the 15, the 20 people that you meet that want to buy a house, one or two of them are actually going to follow through and buy one. For all the appointments you go on listing appointments, you're not going to get every listing. So being a game of failure, understanding that, it puts things into perspective. There's a great deal of humility that goes about being a real estate agent. No question. You have to be humble. The ones that are pompous, I hate those people. And I'm sure that we wouldn't get along if you wanted me to list your property, if you act that way. So anyway, how it comes into play is, it's very hard to trust other real estate agents, especially in your market. There has to be almost like a demonstrated, you're not going to steal your clients out there, or else it gets tough. And let me try to explain this. And I'm alluding to something, and let me maybe try to get more concrete and clear. I'm leaving town. Okay. If one of my buyers wants to see a property, I can't show it. Okay. I need an agent to show my property. And so I need an agent that I can trust who's actually going to do this job, show these properties, help my buyers while I'm gone, and yet not try to steal all my buyers, not try to steal all my listings. it is a very hard thing to, it's a hard thing to give your business, your book of business to another real estate agent while you're gone. And let me tell you how hard it is. Let me tell you the story of Robert Osterman. I met Robert when I was coming back into St. Louis from after living in Detroit more than 10 years ago. And he helped me buy the house I'm currently in. I don't know how it happened that we got along so well. He's older than me. He's probably his late 60s right now, maybe 70s, early 70s. And I don't know, we just always got along. And when I was a real estate agent, when I became a real estate agent, he was never, a jerk to me. Always helped me if I needed anything. Always, if I needed a contractor or if I needed a name or something, always happy to give it to me. Fantastic fellow. Was at my wedding. I mean, great guy. But he has his own business, and I don't interfere with his business, and he doesn't interfere with mine. And so it just happened that my agent in my office, Jen, was retiring, and I knew I was probably going to go on this trip, and I had no one to show these properties, and I couldn't leave my buyers, I couldn't leave them away for 3 weeks. I mean, that's too long. So I said, Robert, what am I going to do? He said, well, I'll show your houses for you. I said, really? It's like, yeah, no big deal. Take care of it. But even this man who, I have a tremendous amount of respect for, been at my wedding, helped me buy my house many, many years ago. Even him, I get scared to give my book of business. And that's my friend, quote unquote friend. Can you imagine in like a normal real estate office how sticky things can get when you pass off your clients to someone else? Man. So we've got that. And then like the trip, I'm so looking forward to it, but I mean, I don't speak the language where we're going. Okay. And I've never been this far east in my life. If you look on a map, it's like on the other side of Italy. 45 years old. I've been to London, but that's about it. And so I am, and when I planned the trip with my wife, I swear I thought of it like it was just going to be, we were going to fly to like Florida, It just didn't get real until this last week when it's like, oh my God, we got to have our passports. We're going to sleep on the plane. It's like a 13-hour flight. When we get there, it's like, I will have never been there before. Like this will be the first time. And, I mean, it's just wild. Am I nervous? Not nervous in the sense that like, I'm not nervous something bad's going to happen. Something bad can happen to you anywhere, but there's an excitement. There's like a little bit of life going on here, like good things. So anyway, for the live streams, there won't be any live streams. There will be video. There will be shorts. There will be, I might put some stuff up while I'm out of the country. I will have my computer, but I don't think the internet's going to be so slick where I'm going. We'll find out. And there's a time change. So anyway, all I'm doing right now, I have one more weekday to prepare for the trip. And so I'm just like any sort of banking, any sort of real estate stuff with mortgages, all that stuff gets done now because once Sunday gets here, I'm out. Now, I've said I'm going to live stream the whole week. The closer I get to the trip, the less and less I feel comfortable live streaming, but the less and less I feel comfortable doing anything. I might have a Sunday morning stream. I might not. I don't know. I'm waffling at this point. I was waffling tonight. I have plenty of materials. I can always have plenty of material, but I just can't. I just don't know if I have the time. I got lucky today on my podcast episodes. Those should be in pretty good shape while I'm gone. Live streams are going to be a little dicey, but why am I telling you this? You know what the situation is, and you will support me. So if you guys are going to go on vacation for 3 weeks, then we'll see each other when we get back. I don't worry about the 10 people that watch my live streams that like they're going to go somewhere else because they obviously like what I'm doing. They come back every day. So anyway, today I had to tell all my buyers, like, hey, I'm headed out. This is Robert's information. Oh, God. So I think the right thing to do tonight, I'm changing subjects, is to the people in Florida. I'm sorry. Like, I get it. It's bad. And we're thinking of you in other parts of the country. It was terrible. Terrible natural disasters. All I can say is, like, in St. Louis, we have tornadoes, and I can remember being out in St. Charles, the O'Fallon area, a couple years back, and that tornado, it went like it didn't really follow a pattern or anything. One house would be destroyed, the next house, like, there was nothing wrong with it. I mean, just amazing. Weather is really wild. I hope people can rebuild and their lives are, back together soon. That was as good as empathy as I can have. Sorry about that. So let's get into stuff today, huh? We got plenty to go over. And we will get into it. But the first thing I wanted to do was, of course, a Google Trends article that I saw that I was quite fascinated by. I think there's things to learn from it. Let's get to it. Is it here? Did I do it right? Yes, there it is. This was from The Verge today. There was search was off on Google. There was like 50,000 searches on a number of things. Nothing really that great. I guess it was kind of a slow news day. But anyway, it says Google Stadia never mattered and it never had a chance. Google had big plans for its cloud gaming service, but it never tipped the scale. Soon Google will be shutting it down. So what is cloud gaming? I believe you don't have to have like a cartridge. Like, you don't have to have a disc or anything to play the game. What would be my initial thoughts about this situation? Well, I know that, like, gaming is like competitive as far as from the manufacturers. I know that some of the big game houses that were big when I was a kid are not as big anymore. They don't even exist, some of them. So, it's dicey. Now, one of the things I think, like, from my MBA is, anything that Google would want to do, they should be able to do from a cash perspective. So like, if they said that they were entering the market for like manufacturing socks, you would have to look at them as like the number one threat to your business, because they've got unlimited amounts of capital, and they don't even need to demonstrate expertise in their field, because like sock manufacturing has got nothing to do with video games, or the internet. But in my lifetime, I've seen many well-capitalized companies fail at other things. One of my dad's favorite stories is Anheuser-Busch at one point in time was in the powdered egg business. Yes, Anheuser-Busch, the manufacturer of fine beers, was actively in powdered egg manufacturing. So, I forgot. I don't remember who started. I want to say it was like Kellogg's or somebody started the first Olive Garden. I'm going to look it up. Because I think it's that interesting. General Mills. I'm sorry, I messed it up. So, anyway, what is my point? I don't know. Whenever somebody comes in and says they're going to dominate an industry, they've not, they're new to the industry, they still take a risk. And Google made a risk with Stadia and didn't pay off. It says Google Stadia cloud gaming service will soon be no more. As the company announced that it is shutting down the service early next year, Google touted ambitious plans when Stadia launched, but it never posed any real threat to established players like Sony and Microsoft. And because of Google's general lack of commitment to anything but its biggest cash cow, digital advertising, Stadia never really stood a chance. Now, that's a very, very bold statement, very bold start to the article. Does Google care about anything other than digital advertising? Should Google care about anything other than digital advertising? Well, we've seen them jump into spaces that we're not necessarily familiar with. Google bought the remnants of Motorola. So we got an Android phone out there now, hardware. Was there any reason to think that Google wasn't going to be successful when they jumped in with Stadia? It said when Google first showed Stadia at GDC 2019, it discussed sky-high aspirations that looked disruptive. You'd be able to stream games to all your devices. You could jump into a game from a YouTube clip. The company was even establishing its own game studio for exclusive titles headed up by industry vet Jade Raymond. Well, I mean, like what I've learned over time is if you're gonna do something in business, you're gonna have to have a good narrative. So like so far, the narrative is great. Like they have a disruptive technology that's going to allow them to go and do these things, and they have also some a veteran behind their studio. Sorry. It says it was easy to dream along with Google, perhaps. Boy. Perhaps one of the biggest tech companies in the world, one that knows a thing or two about streaming things, would be able to succeed where others have failed. And when Stadia finally launched in that November, it kind of worked. Sure, things were pretty messy and there were still a lot of missing features, but you could play a handful of video games with just an internet connection. Now, I have the NVIDIA Shield for my theater screen. I like it. And it's the first generation one, but the idea is you can literally play video games, just you can download and play them while you're watching TV or something. It's fantastic. I think it's great, but I don't play video games that much anymore. And if I really, really wanted to play games, okay, I'd probably play on a console or I'd play on my desktop. Things slowly fell apart from there while the company did add a free Stadia tier 6 months after launch and address small issues like making the Stadia wireless controller work with computers. There just weren't that many people playing Stadia games. Google offered some promotions to try and get Stadia into more people's hands, but they weren't enough. In February 2021, the company announced what it was clearly the beginning of the end. It shut down its in-house development studios and said it would offer Stadia primarily as a platform for other partners to build upon. Now, nearly 2 years to the date after that news, Stadia will be shut down for good. As you go along, it's not always obvious. I mean, when they said that they shut down their in-house development studios, it didn't mean that things couldn't work out still. I mean, you can look at it now at this point and say, oh, this isn't good. In the end, Stadia barely made a dent. Yes, it probably lit a fire under Amazon, which launched its Luna cloud gaming service about a year after Stadia, and Microsoft, which began to roll out Xbox cloud gaming in early 2021. But cloud gaming hasn't turned the gaming industry upside down when it arguably had the prime opportunity to. When we were all stuck at home early in the pandemic and couldn't find PS5s, Stadia felt like it should have been the perfect solution to let vast numbers of people easily play games right from wherever screen is in front of them. Yeah. That is the draw to cloud gaming. It says, but as my colleague Sean Hollister wrote in March of 2021, cloud gaming still has too much friction. Can my internet connection run the game? Is the game I want available on the platform of my choice? Do I have to buy it separately or as part of a subscription? The questions go on and on and on, and Stadia was no exception. Contrast that with my Nintendo Switch, which lets me slot in a game cartridge and just start playing, and you can see why cloud gaming still hasn't quite caught on. Cloud gaming is also an option for a handful of Switch games, and it's generally not a good one. It's so strange. Like if you look at things, like we had like the Xbox. Let's go with that. You could play DVDs on the Xbox. Then I believe for movies, and then you could you had Netflix, but Netflix you would get like a DVD by mail, and then they went streaming, and then your gaming console didn't. They would stream television shows like PlayStation View, but it just never went to streaming games. Says it's clear Stadia never mattered all that much to Google either. Most big budget video game takes years to develop, but the company shuttered its own studios a year after Stadia officially launched. If Google wasn't willing to invest in its own platform, why should other developers? That's a good question. Developers that did support Stadia were as surprised as everyone else about Thursday's news. Bungie, on its Destiny 2 forum, said it just learned about the shutdown and would send information to affected Stadia players once we have a plan of action. Mike Rose of No More Robots tweeted his frustrations at Google's lack of communication, saying that hours later, and I still have no email from Stadia and no clarity on what's happening with our games deals or anything. Even Stadia employees apparently had little notice. Well, this is what happens when someone makes an announcement that you're going to shut down service. Does the company owe you anything? Cloud gaming isn't dead. Xbox's offering is pretty good and getting better. Same with NVIDIA's GeForce Now. PlayStation shuttered the PlayStation Now, but folded in cloud streaming to its most expensive PlayStation Plus tier. Amazon's Luna is expanding too. Logitech just announced a dedicated cloud gaming handheld. But early next year, Stadia, the service that made one of the splashiest entries into cloud gaming, will become just the next big ambitious product that Google sends to the graveyard. From my perspective, it's very hard to shutter a project. It's like I used to do printed newsletters to people in my community, and monthly, and it would take a week. I would dread it. I would dread the whole time. My printers would break. My folders would fold like 7 pieces of paper at once. It was a terrible disaster. Why did I do it? Well, I got buyers, or I got sellers in my neighborhood close to me that I could do business with. Now, did I get enough to pay all the cost of printing? No, it was a loser. Now, and then one day my printer broke and there was no way I was going to be able to put out a newsletter. And I was like, you know what? I'm done. It's over. So many thousands of dollars later, I have all this equipment that no one wants. And it's like, I'm reminded of it every time I'm in the office. Like I can see it right now and it's just depressing. I'm sure people that were at Stadia gave their all, made an effort. Sometimes things just don't work. And that's the way it is. Hopefully these people land on their feet. But, just understand in business, like for me, look, if you say I'm competing with Compass, the cards are definitely stacked against me. Okay. No question. But as long as I treat my clients, better than the big brokerages, I'm going to be fine. So let's move on. I thought we could go over Twitter stuff. I thought this was interesting. I wanted to share it with you. This is Charlie Bilello. And let's just kind of go through it. It's a thread. Many are saying that the Fed is making a mistake in hiking rates too fast in an attempt to break inflation. Where were these critics when the money supply was increased by 40% in 2 years and the Fed was buying mortgage bonds, artificially suppressing rates during a housing bubble? Very pointed question. It says artificially boosting asset prices was the mistake. It's an inflationary policy that created no long-term economic value and likely detracted from real growth as it crowded out productive investments in other areas. Home prices should be dictated by incomes, not Fed boom bust policy. You want them to be affordable because they're not a productive good. You don't want people to spend a high percentage of their incomes on housing as it detracts from investing in areas that can lead to real economic growth. Those pushing to cut rates and print more money to save the housing market are trying to solve the problem with the cause of the problem. Crazy idea. Why not allow free market rates and incomes to dictate where home prices should be instead of 12 central planners in an ivory tower? Couple things here. Number one, I do not understand how you could ever think that the Fed isn't responsible for this absolute atrocious housing policy. I mean, this is their making. The Fed was buying mortgage bonds, artificially suppressing rates during a housing bubble. And not only that, in January of last year, I'm saying, look, this is problematic. Get inflation under control. Inflation is the worst tax on everyone. Don't let this get out of hand. And they just waited and waited and waited and waited. And then all of a sudden they jumped in and it's like, too late. Now, home prices should be dictated by incomes, not Fed boom bust policy. I think that the Fed over the last 30 years has not been a lot of help. Okay. Not been a lot of help to the working folks. Their whole job is price stability, and they've not even come close. Now you could say, well, it's because Washington's spending money that they don't have. Well, it's probably true. But if your mission is price stability and that's your number one job, and you can't do it through a number of chair people and everything, then maybe you don't deserve the respect that you're given. Maybe you don't. Maybe it's not warranted. Maybe when you speak on television, maybe we should just turn the channel to something else. Okay, that's Charlie Bilello for today. Lance Lambert, he writes for, I believe, Fortune magazine. Updated, firms predicting that the U.S. home prices will fall on a year-over-year basis. This is updated as of today. Morgan Stanley, TD Bank, Moody's, all these ones, okay? Then it says, firms predicting that U.S. prices won't fall on a year-over-year basis. NBA Mortgage, Zillow, Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac, and Goldman Sachs. I missed one. CoreLogic also isn't predicting declining prices. They're wrong. They're coming down. I can remember the estimates early in the year that said that we were going to see 7% price growth. Redfin. This is a thread of 5. I just want to check and see if anybody's in the chat. Don't want to leave anyone out. As mortgage rates reach new highs since 2007, more home buyers are delaying or canceling their plans altogether, their buying plans altogether. Sellers are also backing out, causing new listings to hit their lowest level since February. Mortgage rates rose to 6.7% this week following months of extreme fluctuation. As a result, the typical home buyer's monthly mortgage climbed $337 or 15% over the past 6 weeks to a new high of $2,547. With less homebuyer demand, the share of homes sold above list price hit its lowest level in over 2 years. Additionally, pending home sales fell to the lowest level since January. Despite new listings declining, months of supply has been growing quickly, reaching 3 months for the first time since July of 2020. This means that more homes are lingering on the market because they are undesirable and or overpriced. I would say that there are many undesirable homes that are not just necessarily straight a price issue. There's just something about the home that's undesirable. Most of the time they're dirty and nasty and priced too high, but they could also be like construction-wise, the design could be poor. Additions could be added that are terrible, that don't add to the structure. Sellers should anticipate that buyers are unwilling or unable to pay a price similar to what their neighbor's home sold for a month ago. And buyers should connect with their lenders to find ways to mitigate the impact of rising rates. Buyers should connect with their lenders to find ways to mitigate the impact of rising rates. Now, what does that mean? That means adjustable rate mortgages. That means something other than a 30-year fixed. That means taking on more risk as a buyer, even though it doesn't seem like you're taking on more risk. That was code. Hopefully you understood it. Unusual Wales, UK retailers are facing a mortgage time bomb, with rising interest rates set to have twice the impact on consumer finances as the recent surge in utility bills, according to Deutsche Bank. Look, these people in the UK are having trouble with electricity, like paying for utilities, and now they're going to get hit with a mortgage time bomb. Can we in any way argue that we're not living in like one of the most wonderful times in human history? I mean, look at all that's available to us. And yet it's still not perfect. It's still not the panacea. Fascinating. This just in, the cost of an average UK mortgage could rise by 70% in March. Not good. Not good. I thought this was an interesting tweet. I thought we should talk about a little bit. I disagree wholly with the. Okay, good. Let me go over here. It says the housing. I don't know who this is. Stinson Dean, lumber trader. It says, okay, the housing industry is in rough shape at the moment, but the demographics driving housing demand haven't gone away. New multifamily units is the path of least resistance, in my opinion. Most certainly not a deal, but I think the easiest path forward to house America. The single family home in the United States to me is just such a wonderful, wonderful thing. The idea that you could own your own home is such a wonderful thing. And now we're going to do multifamily units, like common wall construction. I mean, I think there's a place for everything. You know, I think there's a place for it. I think that consumers can determine if they want these products and at what price they're willing to pay to acquire these products. I just never want to live in a multifamily unit in my life, but I know other people that totally enjoy it, and I don't mind selling condos. It doesn't bother me a bit. I don't think there needs to be a special focus on multifamily. Let me know what you think. This is kind of fun. Wall Street Silver put this little meme here. It says, 2008, we made some bad loans. 2022, the global economy is a Ponzi scheme. Look, I keep getting, I'll go over to Deerwood Realty. I keep getting this fuzz. I see it in the news. The thought is that because mortgages are underwritten so securely now versus 2008, the quality of the buyer or the purchaser is so high and the requirements so strict that there will not be any issues with mortgage, failures. I think that's an absolutely foolish position that has no basis in the real world. Let me try to explain why. I think I talked about this last night. When I used to be a property manager, 99% of the tenants paid their rent on time every time, some of them even early. When was the instance that they didn't? When they lost their job, when they didn't have any money to pay the rent. There's this thought out there that people like intentionally don't pay the rent. Like they'll buy themselves like a new car, but they won't pay for they won't pay the rent. It wasn't ever true. It wasn't what I saw. Maybe in different types of rentals, but what I saw was if people had the money, they would pay the rent. And I think we have to be very careful about, how we would characterize people that don't pay the rent if they can't. Are they bad? Are they inherently bad people that they have no money to pay the rent? Like, let's say you just had it, everything was fine. Maybe you're a young person and you got your first job, you saved up some money. Now you were able to rent a place and you're going paycheck to paycheck. I mean, it's tight because your job doesn't pay that much. And then, the economy slows down and now all of a sudden you don't have any income. You've lost your job. Are you a bad person? Because you can't pay your rent? I mean, it's not like you're out there buying like Starbucks, like you just literally can't afford your rent. This is my concern. If we shift the blame, like in 2008, we shifted the blame to the lenders. We said it's the lender's fault. Would it ever be the buyer's fault? Should it be the buyer's fault? I don't know. What do we got for mortgage rates today? 30-year fixed coming in at 6.82%, an increase of 17 basis points from yesterday. Crazy volatility continues as rates head back up, and that's just it. We just have this tremendous volatility. Not good. Here's our first article for the night. The U.S. housing market stares down an even bigger economic shock. Mortgage rates near 7%, unbeknownst to buyers. Oh, no, I lost it. I used to have it. You know what? I'm not going to say. I'm headed out. Fortune me. There. Bam. I got to get rid of it out of my, I think they don't let me read their article. Let's move on. U.S. home heating costs set to surge 17%, says Energy Group. This was a little bit of a concern to me. Winter is coming and experts are predicting it will be an expensive one for American households nationwide. The average U.S. household heating bill is expected to increase by 17% this winter compared to last year. Now, mine are very high. We use natural gas. Families had already faced higher than average electric bills last winter due to inflation, and this year provides no improvement. Any state agencies under the Low-Income Housing Energy Assistance Program is distributing federal assistance to help low-income families pay their utility bills. The association expects that the average winter heating bill will increase from $1,025 to $1,202. Heating prices have risen over the past 2 years to more than 35%, the highest rate increase in more than 10 years. Lower income households will struggle. Now, to me, the fabric of America is the working poor. They're literally out there working and they're getting nowhere, but they still go to work because that's what they do. And you're going to, these people don't get the benefits. They don't get the benefits the old congressmen get when they get to do some insider trading and no one says a word. The total cost of heating would increase between $127.9 billion to an estimated $149.9 billion, with lower-income households facing the brunt of the burden. The rise in home energy costs this winter will put millions of lower-income families at risk of falling behind on their energy bills and having no choice but to make the difficult decisions between paying for food, medicine, and rent. As a result, the NEADA sent a letter last week to the congressional leadership asking for a supplemental increase of $5 billion to cover the cost of home heating and cooling, as well as a result of an increased number of summer heat waves. That's nice. I just said, can I have $5 billion? Meanwhile, according to the U.S. Energy Information Administration's latest short-term energy outlook, American household electric bills are expected to increase 7.5% from last year. Now, why? Why can't we have nuclear power in the United States? Why? Why can't we have cheap power in the United States? Who are those that are keeping us from having cheap, reliable power in the United States? And what is their main goal? Why do they want us to suffer? Us, the people that are living now. I don't care about children's children. I care about the people right now. Why do they want us to suffer? Why are their policies so prohibitive? Why do we allow it? Global energy prices have been rising since the second half of 2021 as economies around the world recovered from the shock of the pandemic, leading to higher demand. However, European and American green energy policies, combined with Russia's invasion of Ukraine in February, have caused oil and natural gas to spike worldwide. Why? Who started this? By the way, who's behind these green policies that are just killing everybody? Seriously, they should go to jail. They should be investigated and put in jail. This is terrible what's going on. This is eco-terrorism. The war in Ukraine had disrupted supplies of natural gas from Russia to Europe, which relies on natural gas to power industry and heat and cool civilian homes. Meanwhile, hot summers in the United States and the European Union have driven up electricity demand, causing energy prices to surge. Like, this was the first time we had a hot summer in the United States? No. It's bad energy policy. Increase in the cost of natural gas. While the United States is less dependent on natural gas for its emergency needs, it still fuels about 37% of domestic energy production or electricity production. Natural gas costs are projected to increase 24% to $709. Heating oil costs will jump an estimated 54% to $1,876. Propane bills are forecast to rise by 15.2 to $1,828 this winter. Winter heating costs for households using electricity will face a 6.9% jump to $1,328. Those who use natural gas for heating will face a 34.3% increase to $952. People are slowly going to starve. All of their savings will be eliminated. For what? Green energy policy? The Inflation Reduction Act that was a green energy policy bill. About 20% of American households reported missing or making a late payment on their utility bills in August. Families with an income of $50,000 or less are the ones struggling the most with the higher energy costs. Arch capitalists would be out there saying, well, just make more than $50,000 a year. You won't have any problem. Bank of America reported that Dallas and Houston had some of the highest utility bill hikes this summer, rising 23% from the same period last year. The NEADA released similar findings last month that found more than 20 million families were behind on their utility bills and owed a total of $16 billion. Regional utility companies like National Grid and Con Edison have already signaled their intent to raise prices. Why are Dallas and Houston struggling? What's going on? Is it capitalism again? It is. It is. It's crony capitalism. U.S. regional utilities plan to raise power bills. Con Edison, one of the largest utility companies in the nation, provide energy for over 10 million people living in New York City metropolitan area. The power company said that utility bill increases are being driven mainly by increases in the market cost of natural gas, which is volatile and also influences electric market costs. And that other local electric and gas companies across Northeast are facing similar circumstances. That's right. We had record low natural gas for like a decade now. You knew at some point in time it was going to increase. The problem is when we had the record low natural gas prices, rather than investing in nuclear, that's the only one there is. We had to build windmills. We had to put out those solar panels, kill the birds. But, it's just dumb. Con Edison is urging customers to take action now that they can help them manage costs this winter. Market prices for electricity and natural gas are expected to be substantially higher. They're just going to bleed you. You're just going to get blood dry. That's all that's going to happen. The company explained that it buys natural gas and electricity on the wholesale markets and uses a variety of strategies to stabilize pricing for its customers. The average monthly natural gas bill in the New York City area will grow 32%. Electricity costs will jump between 22 and 27% for residents from November 22nd through March 2023. Kind of explained that supply costs account for the majority of the price increases, which I believe. I mean, if you could literally say natural gas prices have increased and therefore our prices are increasing. Totally good. You could also say that our infrastructure is derelict and has been for 20 years. And we basically just patch everything because we have no ability to, maintain the systems that were built in the 20s, which is totally fine. That would not be a problem with me either. Natural price, or Con Ed explains that, natural gas prices are up 33% from just 1 year ago. As Americans prepared to reach home heating season, this could be disastrous for working families and seniors on fixed income. It absolutely could be. The U.S. needs an all of the above energy strategy that will drive down costs for consumers. Good luck with that. National Grid of Massachusetts announced last week an increase in electricity rates by 64% from November to May, and the average monthly bill for residents in that state will increase from $179 to $293, while hiking home heating and natural gas rates by at least 22% during that period. Not good. Not good. Next article. Pending home sales dropped more than forecast in August, down 24% from a year ago. Housing market is slowing down as higher mortgage rates dent affordability. Absolutely. Absolutely. Not a good situation. Pending home sales fell 2% in August as the housing market continued to slow down amid rising mortgage rates and inflation. The National Association of Realtors reported on Wednesday. What is today? Thursday? I got it to you a day late. The drop was more than the forecast 1.5% decline and brings sales down 24.2% from a year ago. Look, we haven't even reached the point where everybody turns negative mentally. Right now, if you buy a house, people are like, oh, you bought a house? Good for you. In a couple of months, it's going to be, oh, you bought a house? You're an idiot. Then what? Then the social shame that goes with buying a house, now less people are going to buy a house. Oh, you bought a house? Why? Only losers buy houses. Peer pressure. It's a thing. It's wild. The direction of mortgage rates, upward or downward, is the prime mover for home buying, and decade high rates have deeply cut into contract signings, says NAR Chief Economist Lawrence Yoon. If mortgage rates moderate and the economy continues adding jobs, then home buying should also stabilize. This is one of the dumbest statements I've ever seen from Mr. Yoon. The economy is not going to continue to add jobs. But, you do get in a situation where it's a definition. What would you say is stabilizing home buying? What is that? What is stabilized home buying? Is it based on inventory levels, like 6 weeks worth of inventory, 6 months worth of inventory? I mean, I'm okay with anything. It's a question of just let's get the definition down. The housing sector is undergoing a correction from its red hot performance in 2021. But did it have to? Mortgage rates that have doubled to 6.6% and higher have made homes less affordable, while prices have begun increasing at a slower pace. They are still higher than many would-be buyers can afford. That's right. The housing market is rebalancing after 2 unsustainably hot years of activity. Hannah Jones, economic data analyst for Realtor.com, said ahead of the report's release, affordability challenges have characterized much of 22, but have become particularly difficult in recent months amidst stubborn inflation and high mortgage rates, which surpassed 2008 levels and reached 6.29% last week. Look, you knew the inflation was a problem. It's been a problem since January. I said it was a problem. No one wanted to do anything about it. That Janet Yellen said that inflation was transitory. That's when you knew you were in trouble. Putin's price hike, absolutely ridiculous. Prices were going up before Putin. It says new home sales unexpectedly rose in August, though that may have been buyers rushing to take advantage of home that became available in builder discounts. But that is not expected to last if mortgage rates remain elevated. As a result of the current interest rate environment and weaker economic activity, National Association of Realtors expect existing home sales to decline 15% in 2022 to 5.1 million units, while new home sales are projected to fall by 20.9%. That's not good. Or is it? I don't know. Depends on what side of the, you've got a situation now where many buyers can't afford a home. So do you lower the prices of all the homes so that people can afford them? I just noticed I've got a bottle of wine on my desk and I had no idea that it was even here. I don't know how long it's been there. Let's continue. I thought this was an interesting article. I don't know what to make of it. It says the FHA moves to include on-time rental payments for first-time buyers. Now, my own experience with this is if you pay your rent on time, that should be able to count towards your proof that you can pay a mortgage. And the fact that it didn't really it really didn't sit well with me. It hasn't sat well with me. The Federal Housing Administration published a letter to lenders on Tuesday urging them to consider including a borrower's positive rental payment history when applying for an FHA-insured financing. The move is believed to be a boost for first-time homebuyers to help improve their credit scores when applying for a mortgage. The memo reads, if you regularly paying your rent on time, that's a good indication you will also pay your mortgage on time. We hope that by adding this positive factor to all the characteristics currently considered in FHA credit evaluation will increase access to affordable FHA-insured mortgages for first-time homebuyers. Well, that's nice. This is 2022, and we've just figured this out that maybe if you pay your rent on time, you might be a good credit risk. The FHA will consider positive rental payment history as the on-time payment of all rental payments over the last 12 months. Lenders originating purchase mortgages for the FHA insurance will be required to obtain verification of the borrower's timely rental payments indicated on their total mortgage scorecard, which the FHA uses to evaluate borrower credit history and mortgage application information when underwriting loans. It says this change makes FHA requirements more flexible and can help move barriers to home ownership, particularly for those with non-traditional credit or thin credit files. That's where I thought that was problematic. You have people that don't have, many open lines of credit, never had it, they're 18 to 22 years old. They never needed a huge line of credit. And so I think this is a good thing. It says the FHA move follows on the heels of an announcement by Experian, one of the main credit bureaus, early this month that its Experian Boost program would offer a way for consumers to add qualifying positive residential rental payments directly to their credit file. Experian's research has determined that 66% of its consumers will see an instant increase in their FICO score by factoring in on-time rental payment data. The credit bureau said consumers who would see the biggest improvement of about 14 points are those with thin credit files or low FICO scores. Well, I'm not a big fan of the credit. I think the credit scoring system in the United States is an absolute terrible thing. Also, Fannie Mae launched this week a multifamily positive rent payment reporting pilot program, which is aimed at helping renters build their credit histories and boost their credit score. The program allows eligible property owners to share on-time rent payment data through a system to the three major credit card bureaus so it can be included in the renter's credit profile. It's the latest of several initiatives from the government-sponsored enterprise to get rental payment history included in the underwriting process. I think it should be. In 2021, Freddie Mac announced a new program to help renters build up their credit profiles and help them make more creditworthy. The initiative provides a means for owners or managers of multifamily properties to report on-time rental payments to the three major credit bureaus. The move was aimed at helping a portion of the 45 million U.S. adults who have no credit score. That's why I think that the credit reporting thing is a bit wrong. Let's end on this tonight. Am I a real estate expert? Real estate sales are my main source of income. I'll go with I'm a real estate expert. My livelihood depends on doing a good job in real estate. Let's talk about this. It says real estate experts speak out about volatility of mortgage rates. Okay. I'm sorry, my pen is kind of falling apart. It says the typical house hunter who started searching in July and closed on the deal on their new home in September saw their potential mortgage rate fluctuate by roughly 0.5 percentage point every 4 weeks, according to a new report from Redfin, the technology-powered real estate brokerage. That's the most volatile 3-month period since 1987, when mortgage rates swung wildly after surging to a record high of nearly 19% earlier in the decade, while the Fed worked to quell severe inflation. Volatility in interest rates will be the norm for a while, says Nobu Hata, the CEO of Denver Metro Association of Realtors. It's important to let consumers know that the Fed rate interest changes aren't tied to mortgage rates and will fluctuate independently. Well, there's a correlation. I guarantee you that as the Fed raises rates, mortgage rates will also go up. Maybe not at the same spot, but they will go up. For a house hunter looking to buy a $500,000 home, the Redfin study discovered that when they started looking in early July, they expected their monthly payment to be $3,051. That equates to a total of $1.098 million over 30 years, assuming a 20% down payment and the prevailing 5.7% mortgage rate. Of that total payment, $435,777 is interest. Now, I didn't have anybody looking at $500,000 home in July when the rates started going. When they went from 3 to 5, I kind of lost people that were buying $500,000 homes. When they found their dream home in early August, they expected their monthly payment to be $2,874. That equates to a total of $1.035 million over 30 years, assuming a 20% down payment and the prevailing 4.99% mortgage rates. Of that total payment, $372,143 is interest. Now, what they're saying there is in August, the rates dropped a little bit. That rate dropped in August are what people are claiming is the reason for the blowout new home sales numbers for August. When they locked in the mortgage rate for the home in late September, their final monthly payment turned out to be $3,202. That equates to a total of $1.153 million over 30 years, assuming a 20% down payment, and the prevailing 6.29% mortgage rate. Of that total payment, $490,382 is in interest. In other words, the buyer's total expected payment declined by about $64,000 from July to August, and then shot back up by about $118,000 from August to September. I'm just trying to understand, like, my own buyers, they would, we looked for houses, okay? And if they could find one and put an offer in on one and get one, they were just happy to do that. It's been rough. It's not typical that someone who's motivated is going to go from July to September. And look at it this way. I don't think they would always look at their payment this closely over this time. Agents can't control interest rates, so do this instead. Okay, well, however, according to Alexis Bolin, a 44-year real estate veteran and broker associate with Keller Williams Realty to Gulf Coast in Pensacola, Florida, we agents can't control the market. We can't control interest rates. But you do have control over yourself. No more complaining about interest rates. As agents, our job is to find a buyer who can qualify and then find a seller who is willing to sell and then put those two people together. I tell them, you marry the house and date the rate. You're not going to get me to ever say that. Interest rates will go up and down, Jeanette, so right now agents need to work on their relationships. You always need to work on your relationships. Arthur Napolitano, who's been in real estate since the 70s, says that when rates were 17%, we focused on monthly housing budget talks with buyers, not price. Folks forget how much of a role taxes play in a monthly payment, so looking for suitable properties has to also include the tax rates in different areas. So talk about qualifying budget and fit the house to that window. Brett Weinstein, the founder of Guide Real Estate in Colorado, agrees with that approach. Things can change fast, both with rates going up or down, so don't overly judge 1 month. While we have 27% more inventory nationally, we are still well below pre-pandemic levels. It's estimated that 1 out of 4 buyers will be buyers with school-age children in the next coming month. That makes sense, as the market is being pushed by people selling for non-financial reasons, upsizing, downsizing, marriage, divorce, etc. I don't know about that. The future of mortgage rates. It says mortgage rates are seesawing because the Federal Reserve has been raising interest rates. It works to tamp down sky-high inflation. How's that going? The Fed last week increased interest rates by 0.75 of a percentage point to a range of 3 to 3.25%. Its third big hike in a row, and predicted they'll reach 4.4% by the end of the year, while Freddie Mac's widely filed weekly data now has mortgage rates at 6.29%, the highest since 2008. A separate daily gauge has them as high as 7.08%. The volatility in mortgage rates will likely continue in the near term as the Fed seeks to combat inflation, but mortgage rates should fall the next 12 to 18 months if inflation eases as expected. Good luck with that, according to Justin Dimler of Bay Equity Redfin's mortgage company. Wow. You're really going to go with that? Okay. The good news for people who can still afford to buy a home and are set on making a purchase now is that they should be able to refinance to a lower rate in a year or two. Wow. What if they don't have any equity in their home? How are they going to do that? It's a mystery. Well, did you learn anything tonight? You have these times where things don't look real positive. But it's an easy story to write. Like it makes sense. Like right now, with mortgage rates high, with statistics showing that home prices have gone down. Well, thank you, Ann. It's like, I don't know. It's one of those things where it's easy to just get caught up in the negativity. We're better off just looking at, what we can do in the marketplace. Like if you're going to go buy a house right now, just know there's a possibility, one, that mortgage rates could go up. There's a possibility that home prices could go down. But if you're stuck and you need to buy a house, that's just what you need to do. That's where I'm at least. Anyway, I'm going to head on out. Hope you have a good night. I should be back tomorrow night. And thanks for watching. I will catch you later.